I've worked on Japanese cars for 19 years, and in that time I've noticed something that makes absolutely no sense until you understand what's really happening. The best maintained Toyotas, Lexus vehicles, and Hondas I've ever inspected weren't owned by car enthusiasts or mechanics. They were owned by Japanese grandmothers who couldn't tell you the difference between a spark plug and a transmission. These women have zero mechanical knowledge. They've never changed their own oil. Most of them have never even opened the hood. And yet their cars at 250,000 miles look better internally than most American-owned vehicles at 80,000. I visited Japan in 2017 to study this firsthand. I spent time at a Toyota service center in Nagoya. The service advisor showed me maintenance records for a 1998 Corolla owned by an 82-year-old woman. That car had 340,000 kilometers on it. When they pulled the valve cover during a routine service, the engine internals looked almost new. Minimal carbon buildup, no sludge, virtually no wear on the valve train. Same car model in America at that mileage would typically show significant degradation. I asked the service advisor what this woman knew about cars. He laughed. She knew nothing. She just did exactly what the service booklet told her to do, exactly when it told her to do it. That's the entire secret. In America, we maintain cars based on what's convenient and what dealerships tell us will save money. In Japan, especially among older owners, they maintain cars based on one principle: follow the manual that came from the factory, not the one that came from the American importer. And I'm going to tell you about one specific item later that costs $40 but prevents a $3,000 repair that happens to 1 in 3 high-mileage American Toyotas. If you want to know how to make your Toyota or Lexus last as long as these Japanese grandmothers' cars do, hit subscribe right now because I break down exactly what they do differently every single week. Here's what most people don't understand about the maintenance gap. American Toyota dealerships give you a maintenance schedule that's different from the one in Japan. Not slightly different, fundamentally different. The intervals are longer, the services are less frequent. Some items that are mandatory in Japan don't even appear on the American schedule. This isn't a conspiracy, it's economics. American dealerships make more profit on major repairs than on routine maintenance. Transmission replacement is a $5,000 job with significant margin. A transmission fluid change is $150 with minimal margin. The incentive structure pushes toward longer intervals and fewer services. Toyota of Japan has no such incentive. They want the car to last as long as possible because their domestic reputation depends on it. In Japan, a Toyota that fails early is a scandal. In America, it's a 200,000-mile vehicle that lived a full life. Japanese grandmothers follow a completely different philosophy. They don't maintain their cars to keep them running. They maintain their cars to keep every component in near original condition. It's not about avoiding breakdowns, it's about preventing wear. These women view their cars the same way they view their homes. You don't wait until the tatami mats are destroyed to replace them. You maintain them continuously so they never reach that state. That mindset applied to a vehicle means you never reach the point where major repairs are necessary. Let me show you exactly what they do that Americans don't. In the United States, Toyota and Lexus both advertise transmission fluid as lifetime. You'll see it in the owner's manual, no service required. In Japan, that same transmission has a specified service interval. Every 40,000 kilometers, that's roughly every 25,000 miles. Japanese owners change their transmission fluid regularly. American owners never touch it until the transmission starts slipping. Change your transmission fluid every 30,000 miles, not a flush. A simple drain and fill. Use only the genuine Toyota or Lexus specified fluid. For most Toyotas, that's Toyota WS fluid. For certain Lexus models, it's ATF Type T IV. Never use universal fluid. Never let a quick lube shop tell you all ATF is the same. Here's why this matters at the component level. Automatic transmission fluid doesn't just lubricate. It's a hydraulic fluid that operates under extreme pressure and heat to engage clutch packs and control shift timing. As it ages, it oxidizes. The base oil loses viscosity. The friction modifiers that protect clutch surfaces break down. Metal particles from normal wear accumulate in the fluid. Once the fluid degrades past a certain point, it can't protect the transmission anymore. Shifts get harsh, clutches start slipping, internal wear accelerates. I've inspected transmissions from Japanese owners who followed the 30,000-mile interval. At 300,000 miles, the clutch pack still had nearly full material thickness. The valve body showed minimal varnish. Compare that to American maintained transmissions. I tore apart a transmission from a Lexus RX with 160,000 miles last year. Owner followed the lifetime fluid recommendation, never changed it once. The fluid came out black, it smelled burned. The clutch packs were worn down to the backing plates. That transmission needed a full replacement. Cost to the owner was $4,800. A drain and fill every 30,000 miles costs about $150. Over the life of that vehicle, the owner would have spent maybe $900 on transmission services. Instead, they spent $4,800 on a replacement. The math is simple. You won't hear this from most American dealerships because they've adopted the manufacturer's U.S. maintenance schedule as gospel. That schedule was designed for warranty compliance and customer convenience, not for 300,000-mile longevity. In America, the recommended oil change interval for most Toyotas with synthetic oil is 10,000 miles. Some dealerships even push it further. In Japan, the interval is half that, 5,000 kilometers, which is about 3,000 miles. Japanese grandmothers change their oil every 3,000 to 5,000 miles without exception. Change your oil every 5,000 miles, not 10,000, not when the oil life monitor says to, every 5,000 miles. Use full synthetic oil that meets Toyota's specifications. For most models, that's 0W20 or 5W30 depending on the engine. Don't extend it because the oil is synthetic. Don't trust the oil life monitor to optimize for engine longevity. It's optimizing for convenience. Engine oil breaks down in predictable ways. The base oil oxidizes from heat and exposure to combustion byproducts. The detergent additives that prevent sludge get depleted. The anti-wear compounds like ZDDP get used up protecting metal surfaces. After 5,000 miles, even the best synthetic oil has lost a significant portion of its protective capacity. By 10,000 miles it's still functioning, but it's not preventing wear the way fresh oil does. I've pulled valve covers off Camry engines maintained on the 10,000-mile interval. At 100,000 miles there's visible sludge on the valve train. The timing chain area shows varnish. It's not enough to cause failure, but it's where that didn't need to happen. Compare that to Camry I inspected that was owned by a Japanese family who moved to the US and kept their 5,000-mile oil change habit. That car had 380,000 miles. When I pulled the valve cover, the inside looked like it had 80,000 miles. Almost no deposits, minimal wear. A 5,000-mile oil change costs about $70 if you use quality synthetic. Over 100,000 miles, that's $1,400. A 10,000-mile interval costs $700 over the same distance. You save $700, but that savings costs you engine longevity. I've seen engines that could have made it to 400,000 miles need rebuilds at 200,000 because of sludge and wear that came directly from extended oil change intervals. A rebuild costs $4,000 to $6,000. You're not saving money, you're deferring a much larger expense. Most American owners don't hear this because the 10,000-mile interval is convenient and it's what the dealership promotes. Convenience sells. Longevity requires discipline. Japanese owners replace their engine air filter every 20,000 miles. In the US, the common recommendation is 30,000 to 45,000 miles. Some people stretch it even further. Replace your engine air filter every 20,000 miles. Use a genuine Toyota or Lexus filter. Don't use aftermarket performance filters that claim better airflow. The factory filter is designed to balance airflow with filtration. An aftermarket filter might flow better, but it often filters worse. A dirty air filter doesn't just restrict airflow, it allows fine particulate matter to enter the engine. Over time, those particles act like sandpaper on cylinder walls, piston rings, and valve seats. The engine consumes more fuel because it's pulling air through a restriction. Combustion efficiency drops. Carbon deposits build up faster. I've seen engines with 150,000 miles that had measurable cylinder wear because the owner ran the same air filter for 60,000 miles. The filter was so clogged it had partially collapsed. Fine dust was bypassing the filter entirely. That engine burned oil and had low compression in 2 cylinders. A new air filter costs $40. Replacing it every 20,000 miles means you spend $200 over 100,000 miles. Rebuilding an engine because of premature cylinder wear costs $3,000 to $5,000. I've personally seen this failure mode in 3 high-mileage Toyotas in the last 2 years. All of them had extended air filter service intervals. All of them had owners who thought they were saving money. The American maintenance schedule lists the air filter as inspect at 30,000 and replace only if dirty. Japanese schedules list it as replace at 20,000 regardless of appearance. That difference matters. If you want your Toyota or Lexus to last 300,000 miles with minimal major repairs, I've put together a complete Japanese maintenance schedule organized by mileage interval with exact fluid specifications, part numbers, and cost estimates for every service. It's free. The link is in the description. It's formatted as a simple checklist you can print and keep with your vehicle records. In the United States, most people never change their brake fluid. It's not part of the standard maintenance schedule that dealerships promote. In Japan, brake fluid is changed every 2 years without exception. Change your brake fluid every 2 years or 30,000 miles, whichever comes first. Use DOT3 brake fluid that meets Toyota's specifications. Never mix different types. Never use fluid that's been sitting in an open container for more than a year. Brake fluid is hygroscopic. It absorbs moisture from the air. Over time, even in a sealed system, brake fluid accumulates water. Water lowers the boiling point of the fluid. When you use your brakes hard, the fluid heats up. If the boiling point is too low, the fluid boils, you get vapor in the lines, vapor compresses. That means when you press the pedal, you're compressing vapor instead of pushing fluid. Your pedal goes to the floor, your brakes don't work. Even if you never experience brake fade, the moisture in old brake fluid causes internal corrosion. Brake calipers, wheel cylinders, the master cylinder, and ABS components all corrode from the inside. I've replaced master cylinders that failed because of internal corrosion. The owner had never changed the brake fluid in 12 years. The corrosion created internal leaks. The brake pedal felt spongy. Eventually, the master cylinder failed completely. That repair cost $900. A brake fluid change costs $80 to $100. Over 10 years, that's $400 to $500 in fluid changes. One corroded master cylinder costs more than 5 brake fluid services. I've seen Japanese-owned Lexus vehicles with original brake calipers at 280,000 miles. Fluid changed every 2 years like clockwork. Calipers still function perfectly. No internal corrosion. Most American owners I talk to have never even considered changing brake fluid. It's not part of the oil change upsell. Dealerships don't push it because it's a low-margin service, but it's one of the simplest ways to prevent expensive brake system failures. Japanese owners replace cabin air filters every 12,000 miles. In the US, most people replace them every 30,000 miles or not at all. Replace your cabin air filter every 12,000 miles. Use a genuine Toyota or Lexus filter. Aftermarket filters are fine if they meet OEM specifications, but make sure they have activated charcoal for odor control. A clogged cabin air filter restricts airflow through your HVAC system. That makes your blower motor work harder. Over time, the motor overheats and fails. Reduced airflow also means your air conditioning system has to work harder to cool the cabin. That puts extra load on the compressor. I've seen blower motors fail at 120,000 miles in cars where the cabin filter was never replaced. The filter was completely blocked. The motor was running at maximum effort just to push a tiny amount of air through. A new blower motor costs $250 to $400 in parts and labor. A cabin air filter costs $18. Over 100,000 miles you'll replace it about 8 times. That's $144. One blower motor failure costs more than 10 years of cabin filters. Beyond the mechanical cost, a dirty cabin filter means you're breathing unfiltered air. Dust, pollen, mold, spores, and exhaust particles build up in the filter and get recirculated into the cabin. If the filter gets damp, it grows mold. That's where the musty smell in older cars comes from. Japanese owners view the cabin filter as a health item, not just a maintenance item. They replace it on schedule because they don't want to breathe contaminated air. American owners usually wait until the airflow is noticeably weak or the smell is unbearable. By that point, the damage is done. In the US, coolant is typically replaced every 100,000 miles or 10 years. Many people never replace it at all. In Japan, coolant is replaced every 40,000 kilometers or 2 years for older vehicles, and every 100,000 kilometers for newer vehicles with long-life coolant, but only if the system is completely sealed and hasn't been opened. Replace your coolant every 50,000 miles or 4 years, whichever comes first. Use only genuine Toyota red or pink coolant. Do not use universal green coolant. Do not mix types. Coolant is a mix of ethylene glycol and corrosion inhibitors. The glycol doesn't wear out. The corrosion inhibitors do. Once those inhibitors are depleted, the coolant stops protecting the internal metal surfaces of your engine and radiator. Aluminum corrodes. The water pump impeller degrades. The radiator develops pinhole leaks. The heater core clogs with corrosion debris. I've replaced radiators that failed because the coolant was original to the vehicle. The car had 140,000 miles. The coolant had never been changed. The inside of the radiator was coated with corrosion. The tubes were partially blocked. The engine started overheating. A new radiator cost $600 installed. A coolant change costs $120. Over the life of the vehicle, you might do 3 or 4 coolant changes. That's under $500. One radiator replacement is more. I inspected a 2005 Camry last month owned by a Japanese family. Coolant changed every 50,000 miles. The cooling system was pristine, no corrosion, no leaks. Original radiator still in perfect shape at 310,000 miles. American dealerships don't push coolant changes because the long intervals are convenient and most failures happen after the car is out of warranty. It's another deferred cost that the second or third owner pays. Japanese owners inspect and often replace spark plugs earlier than the US schedule recommends. In America, iridium plugs are considered good for 120,000 miles. In Japan, many owners replace them at 60,000 to 80,000 kilometers. Replace your spark plugs every 60,000 miles. Use the exact plug specified in your owner's manual. Don't upgrade to a hotter or colder plug unless you've modified the engine. Don't assume all iridium plugs are the same. Spark plugs wear in a specific way. The iridium tip erodes, the gap widens. As the gap widens, the voltage required to jump the gap increases. That puts more stress on the ignition coils. A worn spark plug can cause a coil to fail. Misfires become more common. Unburned fuel enters the exhaust. That fuel can damage the catalytic converter. I've seen catalytic converters fail at 110,000 miles because the spark plugs weren't replaced. The plugs were so worn that the engine was misfiring constantly. Unburned fuel overheated the converter and melted the substrate. A new catalytic converter cost $2,200. A set of spark plugs cost $60 to $80. Replacing them every 60,000 miles means 2 sets over 120,000 miles. That's $160. One failed catalytic converter caused by worn plugs costs more than 10 sets of spark plugs. I've also seen ignition coils fail prematurely because they were struggling to fire worn plugs. A set of coils can cost $400 to $600. All of that is preventable. Japanese owners replace plugs early because they know the downstream cost of not doing it. American owners wait until the check engine light comes on. By then the damage is already starting. In the United States, differential fluid and transfer case fluid are often labeled as lifetime fluids. In Japan, they're serviced regularly. If you have a four-wheel drive or all-wheel drive Toyota or Lexus, change your differential fluid and transfer case fluid every 30,000 miles. Use only genuine Toyota or Lexus gear oil. The specifications matter. The wrong viscosity will cause noise and premature wear. Differential fluid operates under extreme pressure. Gears mesh at high speed with tremendous force. The fluid prevents metal-to-metal contact. Over time, the additives that prevent wear break down. Metal particles from normal gear wear accumulate in the fluid. If the fluid isn't changed, those particles act as an abrasive. Gear wear accelerates, bearings start to fail. I've rebuilt differentials that failed at 150,000 miles because the fluid was never changed. The gears had visible pitting. The bearings were shot. The repair cost $2,500. A differential fluid change costs $100 to $120. Over 150,000 miles, that's 5 services. Total cost is $600. The rebuild cost 4 times that. I've also inspected Japanese-owned 4Runners and Land Cruisers with over 300,000 miles. Differential and transfer case fluid changed every 30,000 miles like clockwork. Gears and bearings still in excellent condition. No noise, no leaks, no wear. The American maintenance schedule for these vehicles lists differential service as inspect only unless towing or off-road use. Japanese schedules list it as replace at specified intervals regardless of use. That's the difference between a differential that lasts the life of the vehicle and one that needs a rebuild. Japanese owners pay close attention to tire rotation and do it far more frequently than Americans. In the US, the recommendation is every 5,000 to 7,500 miles. In practice, most people do it every 10,000 or not at all. Rotate your tires every 5,000 miles. Follow the rotation pattern specified in your owner's manual. For most front-wheel drive Toyotas, that's front to rear on the same side. For rear-wheel drive and all-wheel drive, it's usually a cross pattern. Tires wear unevenly based on their position. Front tires on a front-wheel drive car wear faster because they handle steering and most of the braking force. If you don't rotate them, the fronts wear out while the rears still have half their tread. You have to replace all 4 tires to maintain even grip. If you rotate regularly, all 4 tires wear evenly and you replace them at the same time with maximum life extracted. I've seen people replace front tires at 30,000 miles and then replace all 4 at 50,000 because the rears finally wore out. That's 6 tires over 50,000 miles. If they'd rotated every 5,000, all 4 would have lasted 60,000 miles. That's 4 tires instead of 6. At $150 per tire, that's a savings of $300. Beyond cost, uneven tire wear affects handling and safety. A car with worn fronts and good rears will understeer unpredictably. In wet conditions, it's dangerous. Japanese owners rotate tires every time they change oil. It's automatic. American owners usually remember only when the tire shop mentions it during some other service. It's a simple thing that makes a measurable difference in tire cost and vehicle safety. In Japan, owners replace windshield wiper blades every 6 months to a year. In the US, people replace them when they're so worn that they can't clear the windshield anymore. Replace your wiper blades every 6 months. Use genuine Toyota or Lexus blades or a quality aftermarket brand like Bosch or Rain-X that matches the original size and attachment type. Wiper blades are made of rubber. Rubber degrades from UV exposure, ozone, and temperature cycling. Even if you don't use your wipers often, the rubber hardens and cracks. When it rains, worn blades chatter across the glass. They leave streaks, they don't clear water effectively, visibility drops. I've seen people drive in heavy rain with wipers that barely function. It's a massive safety risk. A set of wiper blades costs $25 to $40. Replacing them twice a year costs $50 to $80 annually. That's less than 1 tank of gas. There's no expensive repair that this prevents, but it's a direct safety issue. Japanese owners view wipers the same way they view brake pads. It's a wear item that affects your ability to control the car safely. You replace it on a schedule, not when it fails. American owners treat wipers as an afterthought. They're the last thing people think about until they're caught in a storm and can't see. It's a small thing, but it reflects the broader philosophy. Maintain before failure, not after. Japanese owners keep detailed maintenance records. Every service is logged. Every receipt is kept. The maintenance book stays with the car. In the US, most people throw away service records or keep them loosely in a glove box until they disappear. Keep a dedicated maintenance log for your vehicle. Record the date, mileage, and exactly what was done for every service. Keep receipts. When you sell the car, include the complete log. A documented maintenance history increases resale value. Buyer looking at two identical Camrys will pay more for the one with a complete service history. I've seen well-maintained Toyotas sell for $2,000 to $3,000 more than identical vehicles with no records. Beyond resale, the log helps you track patterns. If you're changing oil every 5,000 miles, the log proves it. If a warranty claim comes up, documentation matters. I've seen Toyota dealerships deny warranty claims because the owner couldn't prove they'd maintained the vehicle properly. A simple notebook or a spreadsheet is enough. Date, mileage, service performed, cost, and where it was done. Japanese owners do this automatically. The maintenance book is part of the car. American owners rely on memory or scattered receipts. When something goes wrong, they can't reconstruct what was done and when. A maintenance log costs nothing. It takes 2 minutes per service. The value is both financial and practical. Japanese owners wash their cars frequently and remove contaminants immediately. Bird droppings, tree sap, and road salt are cleaned off within days. In the US, people wash their cars occasionally or not at all. Wash your car every 2 weeks. Remove bird droppings, bugs, and tree sap immediately. If you live in an area with winter road salt, wash the undercarriage weekly during salt season. Use a pH-neutral car wash soap. Don't use dish soap. It strips wax and dries out rubber seals. Contaminants damage paint in specific ways. Bird droppings are acidic. They etch through clear coat if left in the sun. Tree sap bonds to paint and hardens. Removing it later requires solvents that can damage the finish. Road salt causes rust. It gets into seams, door jambs, and the undercarriage. Once rust starts, it spreads. I've seen 10-year-old Toyotas in the rust belt with rotted frames because the undercarriage was never washed. Japan, especially in northern areas with snow, people wash the undercarriage religiously. Those cars don't rust. American cars in the same climate rust through in 8 to 10 years. A car wash costs $10 to $15 if you do it yourself at a coin wash. Twice a month is $240 to $360 a year. Repairing rust damage or replacing a frame costs thousands. There's no comparison. Japanese grandmothers wash their cars the same way they clean their homes, regularly. Thoroughly, it's not about appearance, it's about preventing damage. American owners wash their cars when they feel like it or when someone else is going to see it. By the time the damage is visible, it's permanent. The last thing Japanese owners do that Americans almost never do is follow the severe service schedule, not the normal schedule. Most owners' manuals have two maintenance schedules, normal and severe. Severe service includes short trips, stop-and-go traffic, extreme temperatures, and dusty conditions. That describes almost everyone's driving. But most Americans follow the normal schedule because it's longer and cheaper. Follow the severe service schedule in your owner's manual. If your manual doesn't clearly define it, assume severe service and cut the normal intervals in half. Short trips are harder on your car than highway miles. When you drive less than 10 miles, the engine never reaches full operating temperature. Fuel doesn't fully vaporize. Moisture accumulates in the oil. Combustion byproducts don't burn off. Carbon builds up. The oil degrades faster. I've seen engines with 60,000 miles that look like they have 150,000 because the owner only drove 5 miles a day but followed the normal 10,000-mile oil change interval. That engine had sludge in the valve cover and the oil pan. It burned oil and had low compression. All of that came from following the wrong maintenance schedule. Japanese owners assume severe service unless they're doing long highway commutes daily. American owners assume normal service because it's cheaper and more convenient. The cost difference between normal and severe service intervals over 100,000 miles might be $800. The cost of rebuilding an engine that failed early because of improper maintenance is $5,000. It's not even close. Most dealerships don't explain the difference between normal and severe. They just use the longer interval because customers prefer it. No one's trying to trick you. They're giving you what you ask for, but what you ask for isn't what your car needs. Here's what all of this comes down to. Japanese grandmothers maintain their cars the way the engineers who built them intended. They follow the manual, they don't skip services, they don't extend intervals, they don't look for shortcuts, and their cars last twice as long as the average American-owned Toyota with half the major repairs. They're not car people, they don't know how engines work, they just trust the process and follow it exactly. American owners try to optimize. We want longer intervals, cheaper fluids, fewer services. We think we're saving money. We're not. We're deferring costs and shortening the life of the vehicle. A Toyota maintained the Japanese way will cost you about $800 to $1,200 a year in routine maintenance. Oil changes, fluid services, filters, inspections. Over 10 years, that's $8,000 to $12,000. A Toyota maintained the American way will cost you about $400 to $600 a year in routine maintenance. Over 10 years, that's $4,000 to $6,000. You save $6,000, but you'll spend $5,000 on a transmission, another $3,000 on an engine repair, another $2,000 on a catalytic converter. The total cost is higher and the car dies earlier. The Japanese approach costs more upfront, but the total cost of ownership is lower and the vehicle lasts longer. It's not complicated, it's just a different priority. Maintain like the Japanese do and drive your car for 300,000 miles, or maintain like most Americans do and replace it at 150,000. The math is in front of you, the choice is yours. Drop a comment and tell me what mileage your Toyota or Lexus is at right now and which of these services you're adding to your schedule. I read every single one. And in the next video I'm breaking down why Japanese owners never use synthetic blend oil and what happens inside your engine when you do. You're going to rethink everything your quick lube shop has told you.